What's going on, y'all? Jesse here. On this episode, I'm going to be interviewing my co-host and baby brother, Rene. We're going to be talking about mentors, shovels, bench pressing lions. We're still trying to figure out the audio quality stuff, so thank you for tolerating the funkiness that is about to ensue. Please enjoy.
Right. So I wanted to talk about a coworker of mine who just recently passed away last week. His nickname was Pancho. I won't use his real name. He passed away from COVID. And what happened, I just recently got the news about it. And I talked to his foreman too. And I asked his foreman what happened. And he said, he was telling me about they were doing a repair on a sewer lateral. And it was a hot day. 104 degrees, and towards the end of the day, he said he needed to take a break, which is a red flag for Pancho because he's a hard charger. Like he's always pushing. Yep. He's motivating others to push.
Yep.
He's super positive. For him to ask for a break,
it's a big deal.
It's a big deal, right? And he was telling them like he's not feeling well. He came to work fine. They called it a day and they took it easy. He got in the shade. He got in the AC. He hydrated. Everything you're supposed to do,
yep.
Following procedure, right? And he even let the supervisors know and everything. So he did everything right. It was a Friday, so his weekend was about to start. Well, the weekend happened. He got news that Francisco's in the hospital now in intensive care, diagnosed with COVID.
Okay.
And then a couple days later, he's gone.
Is it safe to assume that he had COVID while he was working? He just didn't know.
Yeah, that's safe to assume. From what I hear, it takes like 2 weeks or something.
Yeah,
there's all kinds of different data. Who knows, right?
But he was in intensive care and he had COVID.
Yeah, we know that for sure, right? How long he had it, I don't know, right? And he definitely was not showing symptoms until that hot day. Yep. So it could be heat, whatever.
He was working out in the ditch and it hit him.
It hit him hard, and he passed away. He ended up passing. Pancho was important to me because he was like my mentor. We have this culture in our company where so the crew is made up. There's these things called crews, and I call it crew culture, right? And the crew is typically 2 technicians, a heavy equipment operator, and the foreman. That's a complete crew.
Okay.
And he was my operator. I was the technician when I first started. My first year at my company, that was our dynamic. I had other partners that were in and out. They dropped out during the hot summer and whatever. But it was me, Pancho, and my foreman for the whole first year consistently. Okay. And
so in this first year, was that your first year doing this type of heavy physical work out in the elements?
Yeah, that was my first year ever doing hot physical work in the utilities.
Okay.
Like I've done like PT exercises and stuff, but doing a work like fixing something
yep.
and focusing on a task that was not exercise. Oh, totally. I'd never had any experience like that.
Okay. And it sounded like you had some other people that were doing it, and they didn't make it. They decided, man, this work ain't for me. I'm gonna go do something else.
Yeah, it was so common in our company for new hires to drop out during the summer because it's hot. You're in a hole. There's no breeze. All this stuff, right?
Yep.
And they drop out. They drop out like flies. It's very common. Super high turnover during the summer for that position.
Yeah, I hear you, man.
Yeah. So I didn't know anything. I did not know a damn thing about what the difference between shovels were. I didn't know what a water main was, which is what we were working on.
Yep. So you didn't know what a shovel was?
I didn't know the names of the shovel. Like, I didn't know the difference between a shooter. If you told me to get a shooter, a spade, or a square shovel, I would have to think about, which one's the spade and which one's the shooter.
Okay, so you knew, like, you're learning all kinds of nuances about the trade, about the work that y'all are doing.
I knew, like, next to nothing about the trade.
Okay, for our audience, Can you describe what a shooter is?
The shooter is that short shovel that it has like a long, slender head.
Okay.
And it's skinny and it's for digging deep, small holes.
Okay.
That's what the shooter is. That's what we refer to as the shooter.
Okay, so each of these shovels serve a different purpose.
Specific
purpose.
Exactly. And I didn't know that.
Okay.
I couldn't tell you.
A shovel.
Yeah, a shovel is a shovel. Exactly. You told me that was a shooter. They're all shooters to me, right? At the time. So, and he taught me these things, right? And there was times where, I there was overtime opportunities and stuff, and you would work with other crews.
Sure.
He was my assigned operator, but I could work with other crews.
Yep. Overtime,
or somebody called in, they need an extra guy.
Yep.
Things like that. I worked with other operators before and other foremen, and they were just jerks, man. Like, what do you mean you don't know? And then there was a lot of no sabe, right? For our audience, no sabe means he doesn't know. No sabe nada. He doesn't know nothing. Like, know, and
green
as grass. He's a greening. He sucks. He's dumb. There's a lot of negative. It's a hostile training environment, I would say, in my opinion.
Okay. So you need some thick skin.
You need some thick skin for sure. You definitely need some thick skin to learn from scratch. In our crew cultures, right?
So was there a difference from the way Pancho treated you to these other operators and foremen?
Yes. Okay. So it was a slight subtle difference that made all the difference to me in my life. Because he would joke and and talk mess, but he would show you, and he was patient with you when he showed you.
Okay.
So like he'd say no sabe nada, right? Okay, but here's how to do it. And he would show you how to do it, and he would give you the opportunity to do the work. A lot of other people I worked with, they just take it from you. They just you don't know nothing, let me do it.
Can you describe a situation where somebody did that, like took it from you?
Oh, yeah, man. So I had a foreman once. What were we doing? We were doing a fire hydrant replacement. The hydrant part's what you see, right?
Yes.
In the street. But underneath, it has a fire hydrant branch, a 90, a valve.
Okay.
A control valve.
Sure.
All that is underground, and it's about 20 feet of pipe, of ductile iron pipe, super 6-inch diameter pipe, all this stuff, right? It's a big piece of equipment that I had never seen before. To me, I always thought the fire hydrant was connected straight directly to the main.
Right.
But that's not true. But so we were doing a repair and we were replacing it, and I had to replace it at the flange. Well, what's a flange?
I didn't even know
what a flange was.
And what were the instructions? Go to the flange.
Go take off the flange. Go take off the flange. What the heck is a flange? I just started 2-3 weeks ago, bro. Like, what's a flange? So I get in there and I'm like, okay, well, I know this is a pipe. So that can't be a flange. And I'm just going in there kind of like trying to figure out on my own what the flange is. And all the while, I'm in this hole. It's hot as hell. And my foreman's just mouthing out, cussing at me and, telling me I'm stupid and laughing with the other people, how stupid he is.
Yep.
And I'm like, dude. And I finally asked, I was like, well, which one's the flange? Okay.
Yep.
He said, oh, my God. And then he gets in the hole. And he points at it all exaggerated, like how dumb I am. I was like, okay, all right. And he gets out, right? I was like, okay, cool. And I brought the wrong wrench.
Okay.
Because I thought it had these bolts, right?
Yep.
And it looked like a 15-16 socket, right?
Right.
And that's what I brought because that's what it looked like. And I brought it, and then I'm putting it on. And he's like, no, man. And he's like, you need the MJ. Go get the MJ. And I was like, what's an MJ? I don't know what an MJ is, man. So I go get the MJ, or I go attempt to get the MJ, and at that point, my foreman's pissed, like, because I don't know anything, and he gets it. He gets the MJs, right, which is a special wrench, especially for the fire hydrant branch.
Okay.
For the fire hydrant flanges.
He knew this.
And he knew all of this.
Yep, okay.
Obviously, he knew all of this stuff, and he finally had enough, and he's like, I'll do it. I'll just do it because you don't want to work.
Oh, okay.
So now I don't want to work because I don't know these things.
Yep.
And I was never taught these things. I could have asked, yes, but I don't know. I just didn't ask.
That's there's a couple things there I want to explore. Right? Is one, you didn't ask.
Mm-hmm.
Why didn't you ask?
Because I was trying to avoid him saying I don't know nothing.
But the fact was you didn't
But
know
I didn't
anything,
know
right?
anything.
And it's interesting because I would say in our society, but more specifically in the industry of construction and maintenance and repairs and so forth, there's this behavior that we have to know, and asking or not knowing is a sign of weakness or a
Yes.
sign of failure. And that's false.
Yeah, totally.
But so this dynamic you're describing, I've lived it. I understand. I've actually participated on both ends of it, right, in my career. One thing that could have made a difference is ask or just say, "Hey, I don't know." The other thing is this guy could have said, "Hey, bro, let me take this down there with you. What you're looking at is the flange. This is what the flange
Right.
is. Look at it right. It's a new age. We have laser pointers, right? You see that little green dot there? That's the flange. Go take it apart." He could have done that. Didn't do any of that. He knew. Sounds like he knew what was going to happen and aggravated the situation so that it would happen, and then said, "Get the hell out of the way. Let me do it."
Mm-hmm.
How'd that make you feel?
I was pissed. I was so angry and pissed. And like I at the time I was like, dude, and this isn't the first time he did it to me already. And I just started
regular behavior.
Yeah.
And you're not the only one that's experienced it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was pissed and I wanted to quit. I was like, man, this job sucks. I don't want to deal with this. But
I hurt my feelings. I want to
yeah,
go home.
exactly. That's how I felt. Right.
Yeah.
I want to go home. Like, and but I have my kids and my wife at home, and I can't quit. This time I can't quit. Right.
Yeah, they're different.
So I had to just take it on the chin and get out the hole and watch and observe. Right.
Yep.
Which I had never seen it before.
Okay. So fast forward to Pancho.
So Pancho did those things. He did talk to me like that. He did talk to me how you just showed me, how you just talked about how hey, this is the flange. This is what this is for. Bring this in the hole with you. He did all that.
Yep.
Yeah, he made fun of me too, but at least he showed me as well.
Yes.
Yeah, he showed me. He gave me the information that I needed.
Yeah.
Right. And there was a language barrier too. He spoke mostly Spanish, and I speak mostly English. I know a little bit of Spanish
and a little bit of English,
right? Enough to pass 12th grade. So there was a language barrier, but he still had the patience to guide me and teach me these things, man.
It sounds like a special kind of dude.
He totally was, because there would be other operators with the same issues, and they don't want to have nothing to do with you, and they'll tell somebody else in Spanish to then talk to me instead of, you know what I mean? And then that's another thing, right? But he was like that, and to me, he was the standard, man. Like he was the standard. He wasn't all fluffy and super. Everything's going good all the time, but at the very least, he shows you. He had an attitude and a work ethic that motivated people who didn't know. I mean, that's the best way I can say it.
So it sounds like he was committed to developing people.
Would develop his guys. I would totally say that, yes.
Is that
for
important?
Free. Not for free, but like he didn't expect, I want to raise, I'm training these people.
He just saw it as part of his work.
He just saw it as part of his work. Doing his job to help you out, to help me, to help us. He that was his mindset.
Special man.
And I mean, I'll admit it. I sucked. I mean, I didn't know anything. And
but that's okay. You're new.
Yeah, I'm new. And then a lot of people. I personally, learned my learning style. I learned better on reading manuals, like seeing pictures in the manuals and step-by-step instruction on a manual, and then doing it. But there's no manuals in on-the-job training. At least for us, there wasn't.
Okay, so you used the word on-the-job training. Was there any kind of training? Like you got hired, surely there was orientation. These are your benefits, all that good stuff. Many organizations, they do that. But when it comes to orientation to the work that you're going to be doing, that's typically lacking. Did you have any kind of orientation of the type of work you're going to be doing, description of the tools, the types of materials, anything like that, like outside of the ditch?
Yeah, I actually did.
Okay.
So I'm not in to say here.
Go.
I actually did. They actually did give us a little crash course about what we're gonna be seeing underground, right?
Okay.
But it was super. What's the word? Specific to a specific job, and in the hole, when in the ground in the street out there, the ground in the street, the pipe, the water main in the street on Tasamara Street is gonna look very different from the water main on East Houston Street.
Okay.
Everything's different. There's different pipe types. There's different strategies for each pipe
Okay.
sizes. There's all
Okay.
kinds.
So they just kind of.
And we learned on one. We learned
Got
on
it.
one pipe, which is it's better than nothing for sure. But
Yep.
we learned about one pipe, about how to cut it. One time we went over one time how to cut it. One time how to do common repairs once.
Okay.
And that was it, right? And then
that's more than zero.
But that's more than zero.
Okay,
Yes.
good.
Yes. More than
You're
zero.
good at math. I can tell.
and that was it for that training. And the rest of the training was mostly CDL training. So driving the equipment and stuff, which I have no complaints about that.
Right.
We had awesome training on that. We trained a lot. Like I would say we got like 80 hours of training on CDL stuff. Okay. So I would say that like a good 2 weeks maybe.
Okay.
Yeah, that's 80 hours. Great. So
on the job training.
It
sounds, what you're describing sounds more like on the job learning. Not necessarily training.
Yeah, on the job learning.
Right, like
I agree with that.
Go do this. With Pancho, it sounds like there was a training.
It was training, yeah.
But with the other individuals, it was sink or swim.
Right.
So on the job learning, not necessarily training. They weren't focused at developing any skills, any capabilities. Pancho appears to have been the other, right? Like he was like, no, let me show you.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly like that. He was into it too. Like you could tell he enjoyed teaching you as well.
Yep.
Because some other people I've worked with, they're like sighing, oh my god, like you don't know this, like, and you want to work here, and just the attitude the whole time. And Pancho wasn't like that.
Okay.
I'll admit, I was a slow learner at first. It took me a good probably 2 months before I started blowing up. Like under his mentorship, like it all started to click. Like right at the 2 month, I was like, oh, I get it now. Okay. And now I was doing repairs all by myself.
Yep.
I was doing them faster.
Okay.
I was motivated to go to the next job.
Yep.
Because I knew he was gonna back me up, and if I had a question, I knew he could answer it, and he wouldn't be a total douche about it.
Yep.
And I started figuring things out on my own. He taught me how to think instead of exactly what to think.
Yep.
And I could figure things out on my own. And all of a sudden now I'm making the plan. What do I want to do? How do I want to attack this project? And he would support me on that. You know,
Pancho sounds. I mean, you said he taught you how to think.
Yeah.
Right? And you were performing some problem solving on your own. What's my strategy? I'm going to do this work. I'm going to get in there, and you were executing it independently. Those are all really huge things. So Pancho, what was his level of education?
Jeez, I don't even know if he graduated high school.
Okay.
I'm not sure. I don't remember.
So
I know we had
mostly Spanish, maybe a little English, but he probably chose not to speak English if he didn't have to.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't have a college degree, maybe completed high school, trade worker, right?
Mm-hmm.
Craft person working out in the street under the sun, but still had the capability to help you experience a greater quality of life.
Totally. 100%. I can say with confidence, he was the best mentor I've ever worked with.
Wow.
I have not, and I've worked in a bunch of different jobs, like office jobs. I've worked in education, call center jobs, where they need degrees to have the leadership roles.
Yep.
They need to have a degree, and I've never had the level that Pancho showed me.
Wow. That's amazing. Well, and I think that just goes to show education and degrees and certifications are absolutely important.
Totally.
Like, no way to down talk that. but that doesn't, the lack of those things, the lack of those credentials does not make a person less than.
Right.
These people that we work with out in the industry are amazing human beings. Not all of them. Some of them are, they're all amazing, but some of them are amazinger.
Yeah.
And the lack of credentials doesn't mean that they cannot have an impact on people's lives.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yes, I would agree 100%. He was all those things, man. He was all those things in a bag of chips. He was important to. He was like my family because we worked in the cruise, and he was my operator, right? And I was assigned to him and his crew. And like I was saying earlier, the other there's two technicians. I was one, and the other one was always a new guy because the new guy was always falling out.
Yep.
But I stuck with them. We would work 50 plus hours, every week,
Yep.
man. So I was pretty much seeing him more than my family,
Yep.
And
I mean, that's an important point, right? Because many of us get out there and we start these careers or jobs. Sometimes a job develops into a career, and we'll spend most of our waking hours with human beings that are not in our home.
right.
And so what you're describing is that relationship evolved into a family type relationship.
Totally,
right?
yeah.
Major trust, and you're spending most of your damn time with them. You got the wife and the kids at the house, and they get some of your time. Most of the time you spend with them, you're asleep.
Yep.
And they're asleep. And so that's a reality, right? And when we think about careers, I get to talk to high school students and middle school students about what do you want to be when you grow up, right? And a lot of times people are thinking about a career and a job based on what their earning potential is, how much money could they make, right, or whatever. Rarely do we discuss the fact that you're going to be spending most of your waking time with these people away from the people that you love. And the way they treat you and the way they make you feel is critically important.
Totally.
Did you ever hear that message when you were in high school and in community college and all the things that
Definitely
you did?
not.
Never?
No, never. Never. Not once.
Yeah, it's an important message. So Pancho was your mentor. We know Pancho's an amazing guy, and he fell out. He got ill.
Mm-hmm. He fell out, he got ill, and he passed away. I went to his funeral last week, or actually this Friday, right? And I've been to a quite a bit of funerals. I would say I've been to plus or minus 20 funerals in my lifetime.
Wow, you're a young dude. That's a lot of people.
I know, right?
Yep.
And either from our family or extended family or friends, friends and workers and stuff. You look at the crowd at a funeral, and you look at the family, and you look at the people, and they're most of the time they're sad. They look sad. You can tell they're sad. They're crying, and there's a lot of crying and tears, and there's mourning, right?
Yes.
But Pancho's funeral was a little bit different because it wasn't. It was like, yeah, there was mourning, but there was like hysterical crying. People were devastated that this man was gone, man. And it was a super passionate. There was a little Bible study or service, funeral service, right, for him. And the pastor and Pancho was also a Christian man, and we talked regularly about our faith. And he would tell me he knew his pastor personally, right? He had a relationship with his pastor too, and it showed. The pastor was so passionate about this. I've seen other funeral services, and the pastor kind of reads what they planned, and this one was different.
Okay.
It was like everybody that was there at the funeral was engaged in the funeral and really knew Pancho and was affected by his death.
Yeah, so he touched
everybody deeply, everybody. Wow. And it was hysterical crying. And I was thinking about it. I've been thinking about it since he passed away. I was sad, and I hadn't worked with him because thanks to him, I was in the hole doing the job, and supervisors saw me doing the work that he taught me how to do, and I was able to move up,
Okay.
and thanks to Pancho's mentorship. So I hadn't worked with Pancho in a while. I hadn't worked with him in over a year.
Oh wow. Okay.
So
So he helped you advance in your
he
career.
totally helped me advance in my
Okay.
career.
Yeah.
And he told me that too. Pancho even told me that he believed in me. He would tell me, when you're a foreman, Rene, when you're a foreman, uh, you need to know this stuff, man. So pay attention. He would always say, pay attention. He would say, put attention. He would say, put attention, Rene.
Yeah. Yeah.
Put attention, Rene. Freaking Pancho, man.
But he was speaking your future.
He was speaking my future, man. Nobody else did
Wow.
that. Everybody just talked to you like you're always gonna be in the hole, man. And it almost seemed like they wanted you to stay in there.
Yeah.
Like they didn't want to show you a secret so that you wouldn't surpass them or something. And Pancho was not like that. He wasn't concerned with keeping you down so he can stay up. He wasn't concerned with that stuff, man.
Yeah.
Anyway, and it showed. It showed in that funeral that I'm not the only one that feels this way. He impacted everybody like that. And it hit me, man. It finally, after seeing that, and they put his coffin in the hole, man, I just started bawling in tears, dude.
Yeah.
I was a mess, and I wasn't expecting that. I didn't see that coming. Then anger and resentment started coming in too. Started creeping in too.
So where did that come from?
So I couldn't help but think, and here's where we get into the nitty gritty and the purpose of this conversation.
Okay.
I couldn't help but think, at our company headquarters, all of the headquarters are our office jobs that has all the HR and the executives and the money move makers in that building. Since this COVID happened, we've had these phases, right? And our one executive made the move that, hey, you know what? We're just gonna have headquarters stay home the whole rest of the 2020.
Okay.
Everybody who works at headquarters, you're gonna work from home till 2020 ends.
Yep.
And meanwhile, everybody else who's doing the work to keep the water going, you guys still work.
You gotta go work.
And you gotta go work, and you're just, nothing happens for you guys, right? And I couldn't help but think, man, what if Pancho got to stay home? Like your headquarters people, you know what I mean? What if Pancho got to stay home? I'm not saying Pancho got COVID while on the job. I'm not saying that. We will never know, really. Right. I will never know those facts.
How that happened.
How that happened. And I'm not even suggesting that that's what happened, but the life, if he was at home, if he would have got COVID any day of the week, he would have been home with his family, and they could have enjoyed the last bits of life he had, man. And we don't have that opportunity. Our jobs that are not in the headquarters, in the office, the people out there, we don't get that opportunity. And I understand, that it's different. We have to go. If we don't do our job, there's not going to be water. We need to repair the water mains and all of that stuff. We need to keep the water going. I mean, that's undoubted. There's no doubt about that. But I felt as if there was a disparity in between the effort placed in preserving HQ's life over our lives, the laborers' lives. Yeah. There was a more heavy-handed approach on, hey, we gotta get these guys home, keep them safe. But us, not so much. I don't see that. I didn't feel that was communicated to us, that it was important that we're safe. Okay. Or at least that it was as important to keep us safe as the other guys who get to work home.
Okay. So what I remember, weren't you working like a week on, a week off at some point? What was that about?
So, and that's my next point, man. That's one of my points is that, so check it out. So in the beginning, when COVID just emerged, we were getting recent updates on our email about COVID and in the numbers and all that. What's going on? How to take precautions and stuff. Great. You guys need to wear a mask. All the procedures were going on, and they were sharing us the information on how to keep us safe, right? Which is awesome. I think that's great. And then the numbers started getting worse and worse, and then the state of emergency, a message came out, and then that's when companies started closing down. Right. And then during that time, that's when our company said, "All right, guys, we're gonna go in phases. We're gonna start having people work from home, and we're gonna start kind of experimenting on what that looks like." So the people who didn't work in the cruise, which was me included, I no longer work in the cruise. I really work by myself now. Occasionally, I have to work with the crew to help them out on something, right? But I mostly work for myself, by myself. So people who worked on their own and had their own company vehicle, they didn't get to work from home. The field workers, they didn't get to work from home, but they can come in bi-weekly.
Okay.
So, and you would get paid 40 hours anyway. So it was like an A team and a B team. A worked week 1, B worked week 2, and all that. That's how we were doing. If you had your own vehicle, you did that. And plus, we got a percent. I'll say a percent that was under 15% bonus on our hourly or on our pay, right?
Okay.
For the times you worked on the
when
field.
You were actually
when you were actually out working.
Okay.
That was the thing. That was the solution, right? So, okay, cool. And we were doing that, and that was great. I thought that was completely fair. And even the crew workers got to get that.
Yeah, it's extra money.
They got to get that, and they too also got to work A and B shift. Okay. And they also had a policy where we no longer clock in. At the time clocks, because at the time clocks, everybody's puddled waiting for 7 o'clock and waiting for 5:30 at the end of the day to wait. So, hey, to avoid the spread, just don't clock in, or HR is going to clock you in, right? That was the solution. Cool. That's awesome. These are great steps that, a lot of other companies are not taking, right? And that was great. And that was like phase 1 or whatever. I don't remember the numbers. Phase 1 for HR, they had whatever that was. I don't know. I don't know what their phase 1 was. And then the numbers, we were starting to flatten the curve, right? We thought we were, right? We it was being communicated to us that the curve was flattening, right? So then restaurants were opening and bars were opening. Everything was opening. So naturally, okay, so now let's start bringing people back, right? So he was the first, I would say, an orange flag to me. So we started bringing people back, and now that we're back, the COVID was still going on. The numbers were still soaring in certain places. There's hot spots, right? So we all come back now, which is fine. It's a little bit safer, right? So, but now that you're back, let's take away your 10% or whatever percent you were, whatever percent you got, and let's take away your percent and just go back to work, right? Okay, that kind of sucks, but hey, at least I have a job, Sure. But the headquarters stayed working from home. Okay, so I was like, all right. I was a little disgruntled about that. Okay. And then the numbers started rising again. And now everything's closing down again. So the numbers are at its all-time high. And then we get notification that not only are you guys coming to work now, but you also need to start clocking in again. So the numbers are worse, and we need to clock in now. So now you brought us back and took away our bonus. And then you brought us back at working like normal. And the numbers are worse, and now you want us to clock in too.
So adding risk.
You're adding risk, right? And and then at the same time they gave us that message that you guys are all coming back, and we're taking away the bonus. HQ is gonna stay till 2020 ends. So we come back, and you take away the risks, or you add risk. Meanwhile, HQ's getting to work from home the whole time, and the risk for them is going down and staying down. So we got phased back in, but there was no phasing from them. They always got to stay at the maximum safety risk factor or whatever you want to call it. And I was thinking about all that stuff, man, when Francisco died, and I was like, what the heck, man? Like, what's going on here?
So here's a question. I mean, this is a passionate, real thing that you're
totally
still living through, right?
Yeah.
And really, you're not the only one living, right?
Mm-hmm.
This situation, this dynamic is only is not confined to San Antonio, Texas.
Right.
It's happening all over the country.
Right.
And the dynamic of some people having the opportunity to work from home and others having to go out and into potential exposure at risk. This is a big, heavy subject. You know that, right?
Yeah, totally.
And I guess I need to stay objective about it, which is probably going to be difficult for some of our listeners, right? Because there's listeners that are going to be in one of those teams.
Both sides.
Both sides of it. So that's the reality, is that it's probably more than two sides, right?
Yeah.
I don't even know about. But here's one question. I understand how, well, what the hell? Like, it's okay for us to go out there and be at risk and they get to hide. But so here's a real question, an objective thought around this issue is, can they effectively do their jobs from home?
No, and I have a testimony to that.
Okay, let's hear about that.
Okay, some can. I will say some can. I don't even know what position could, but I'll give them the benefit of the doubt that some can.
Okay.
But I have a testimony from my foreperson where he was missing a document, right? And he needed this document at a certain time. And he contacted the person that was working from home, and that was their duty. One of their duties is to give the documents, right? And they're like, well, I can't give it to you because I'm not at the office, and I can't go to the office, and I can't give you this document. So, that's one situation,
right,
but
probably happens.
I wonder how much other situations are like
so
that.
So that's a pretty specific situation, but it's a real situation. Now, I think what I heard you say was the office, what do you call it?
Headquarters.
They're all working from home, and they could do their job from home. Not entirely.
Not entirely.
It's a problem, but so could you and your crews do your job from home?
No, definitely not. Absolutely not.
Yeah.
I don't deny that for sure.
And so that's the challenge, right? Is one, our system, this is my personal opinion, and I've done no research on my observation. Our system is not designed to protect and care for everybody. Our systems are designed to make money. Have I made money? I personally have made money, yes. I've benefited. And we all really have a choice. We could all choose to work home. Or rather, we could all choose not to go to work.
Right.
That's a fair statement?
Totally fair.
But what happens if you don't go to work?
If I don't go to work, I don't eat. I don't get paid, and I don't get to eat, and I don't get to pay my bills.
Yep. So that's a reality. Now let's strip it down in how much of your income is really spent on necessities versus luxuries.
I mean, without getting into a budget crunch numbers, like talking the numbers, I would say at least 80% of it
is necessity.
Okay. I would say
that's a pretty appropriate percentage. Now, let's think about the word necessity. Is cable a necessity?
I don't have cable.
Okay. Or is internet access a necessity?
Yes, I need it for work.
Do you pay for that, or does it?
I pay for that. Well, I guess I don't need it for work, but it's helpful to have so I can research certain things. Okay, all right, you're right. I'll give you that. It's not a necessity. It's helpful. I need it for work.
Do you have a company issue phone?
No. But they give me a phone stipend, which is like X amount of numbers. Okay. It's fair. It's fair. So technically, I'm not paying for phone for my phone, but my wife's phone.
Now I'm gonna get a little deeper, right? When we're thinking about necessity, it's a redefinition.
Sure.
Do I need a refrigerator?
I mean, you could survive without it.
So now we're talking about survival.
Survival, yeah, right? Sure.
Necessity and survival. You got it. So I don't need a refrigerator. Do I need electricity?
No, it's not.
Do I need a cell phone?
I need a cell phone to communicate with my family members, and it's okay to survive. No, I'll say that. No.
Thank you. And I'm going somewhere.
That's fine. That's fine.
So I don't need a cell phone. Do I need a car?
No.
Don't need a car. No. Right? And I'm pretty sure your car payment may be over $100 a month.
It's like $350 a month.
Plus insurance.
Plus insurance. Right? Yeah.
Not a necessity to survive.
Do you need shoes? Do you need underwear?
Okay. So now we're talking. Your clothes. Right? What grade of clothes do we spend our money on?
I mean, the cheapest kind. I mean, if we're speaking about me personally, the cheapest kind. Okay, I don't shop at the mall. Cheapest kind too. Okay. I haven't even bought clothes in a while because I buy for them for my kids and my wife.
Of course. So my point in all of this is not a judgment on you. My point is that we have been conditioned to acquire things and buy things that are conveniences, not necessities. And so in the acquisition of these things, we develop debt. We accumulate debt. We accumulate or develop a lifestyle or a standard of living that exceeds what is necessary. In order to sustain that, we've got to have income.
Yeah, sure. Don't deny that.
So then we get trapped. I believe it is a trap, and I know my thinking is kind of weird. But we create this trap of I gotta have all these things because they're like my cell phones, and don't get me wrong, I got 2 cell phones. Right? Yeah. One's my personal, one's work. I got 2 computers. I got a lot of stuff that I don't need, so I'm not judging. I'm just straight up observation. We have confused necessity with inconvenience. And so we create this debt and we create this need to have a job that maybe sucks with people that don't treat us respectfully, but we gotta do it. And we talked about it earlier. We end up spending most of our time with people we really don't like to pay for the things that we need, in quotations, for the people that we love that we spend very little time with. There's some adjustment in our thinking, right? How can we live in such a way that we can choose to do work that's meaningful to us and be surrounded with people that make us feel appreciated and that we can appreciate in return? So that's one thing, right? And back to the system and the question that you're struggling with, it almost sounds like you're saying it's not fair.
Yeah, I will tell you that I don't think it's fair.
So if a lion were to devour you, you tell that lion, hey man, this isn't fair?
No.
Right? Why not?
I mean, because the lion is stronger than me, it was faster than me. It's physically impossible to, out bench press a damn lion. I can't. There's no amount of training that's probably gonna protect me from a damn lion.
And it's just the natural.
It's just a natural behavior of the lion too.
Our system that we're operating under. This is the natural function of that system.
Okay.
The point is, yes, it's not fair.
Sure.
Just like a lion eating grass.
Yeah.
You're right. That's the system. So what it's easy to do is assign blame or irritation and frustration and judgment against the organization, and even worse, against the specific people that you envision in your mind as representatives of the organization.
Right.
Is it their fault?
So, and I've that was another one of my points I wanted to touch on.
Yep.
Is okay. So I guess I'll touch on it now.
Yeah.
I have two forepersons, right? Yep. One is, and they're on both sides of the extreme, man. Awesome. On both sides on the spectrum. Yep. So we got, and I feel like I'm gonna be referring to these people for a while because these guys are some characters, man. But okay, so we got his nickname is Bino. We got Bino. He's a grandpa. I refer to him as my grandpa, and like my within my team, my crew, he's grandpa, right? And so my grandpa is on the side of, hey, well, if you don't like it, go work somewhere else, right? Yeah. And there's some truth in that. I don't deny that for sure. And then my other guy, foreman, we'll call him Mr. H. Okay. Mr. H, he's on the side like, no, this is classism and classic classism. Yeah. There's a struggle for the piece of the pie, and HQ gets the big piece, man, and we get the crumbs that's on the rest of the plate. Yeah. I feel like I'm somewhere in the middle, okay, because I literally said this like verbatim to both of them. Sat down and I was telling them, I totally put myself in this situation because I was all heated and I was talking down about the company and stuff, not to anybody like that's gonna get me in trouble or anything, but like between my peers, I was upset. Pancho just died and I was pissed. I was pissed and I was seeking ownership, I guess, to place blame. I was seeking to place blame. And I was saying these things, and then, I calmed down and I was hearing both sides of the spectrum from both of them, right? That one guy's like, yeah, it's totally their fault. Even if it wasn't their fault, it's their fault still that they did it's still their damn fault somehow in the ripple of space, and then the other guy is like, well, I mean, that's what we signed up for, Papa, that's how he is, and they're both, I don't say they're both right, but I'm more on the side of grandpa that that's kind of what we signed up for, man. And I say this, and I guess I would warn our viewers to take it with a grain of salt. This is my opinion, that I put myself here in this situation, that I have to take this weenie or whatever, I have to take this situation, man. I have to take it because I can't just say, you know what, screw it, I quit. I'm gonna find a job that's gonna give me special treatment, right? Quote unquote special treatment. I put myself to where I need this, man, or else I'm not gonna make it, and my family and my kids are not gonna make it. So until I find the next grind, hey, this is it. This is what it is, right? Yeah. And I know. And on top of that, I also put myself in the situation where I can't really make a bold statement or move or policy change within the company in the position that I am. I'm not laborer, but I'm not administrator either. I'm just one step, quote unquote, above pay grade or whatever. Okay. Whatever you want to call it. And I can't really make a move like definitely can't make a move like that. I can't make a policy change to make this better for everybody. Right. I can't do that, and I put myself there. I was on the path at one point to make those changes, to be in a position of administrating or executive. Yep. I was on that path. I was going to college, and I out of all the choices that I made, I chose that it got me here, man, and that's all my fault. And if I don't like it, I need to do something about it. And right now, I'm in this space where it's not a wise move, Yes. So I get that, man, but I feel, and it brought me to my next thing. Are they the devil for what's going on? No, man. I'm not suggesting that. They're not. I don't think they're evil, and
Right.
the company's screwing us and classism and all that. I will admit. I must admit. I was totally saying those things. A couple of days ago.
There's some truth in those things.
Sure.
Right.
Sure. I can't get it out of my head that there's a disparity between, I don't know, I guess the compensation of what we do and what, I don't know, headquarters does, because they're working from home. I don't know if they're working all the whole 8 hours they're getting paid for. I don't know, but I can't prove that, right?
Yeah.
But they're working from home. So in my opinion, I'll just say exactly what I said. I said they're working from home, and they're probably not working the whole 8 hours they're getting paid for.
Yeah. They're not having to clock in.
They're not having to clock in. They don't. They're making me clock in. There's nobody keeping track of that. I don't know. Maybe there is somehow, but
there is a way.
There's a way.
You can track that. Yes.
There's a way. But there's also a way you can loophole this. You could just leave your laptop open and move it every.
Just like you can clock in and sit on your
You're totally right. Yeah, you're right about that. Okay, but that's not what I'm getting at. Okay. My point is, they're at home in the comfort of their home, not doing whatever they do, and I feel like there's a dollar value that's unspoken.
Okay.
Of being at home with your family. Yeah. And working from home. There's a dollar value, whatever the hell that dollar value is. Being to work at home and being safe from the COVID, or just having the opportunity to stay safe at home. Yep. Just having that opportunity. There's a dollar value. I don't know what it is. I don't know the equation. Yep. Right? But I feel like there's a dollar value, man. Okay. And we came back, and my opinion, we're not getting that dollar value. We have to do our job. Like, if we don't do what we do, there's going to be chaos. There's no water if we don't do what we do, right? I feel like we're not getting that dollar value that they're getting. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like, and I don't even know if that's some absurd amount of money that's gonna put us under. Right. I'm not suggesting that, man. But I feel like we're at risk. Yes. We're at risk, and we're not getting to work at home. Yep. And I feel like there's value in that. And I feel like, in my opinion, it would be nice to be compensated accordingly for doing that. And I don't think we are getting that fairly. I don't think so.
I've heard a couple lines of thinking here, and I just want to ask for clarification.
Got it.
One was, the situation is not right, and it sounded like you want to be able to make things right for everybody.
Yeah.
So that's one line of thinking. The other line of thinking that I'm hearing is, if I made more money, I'd be happier. If I made more money doing this work in this situation, it would be better.
I would say it would be fair.
I feel like those are conflicting ideas.
Okay.
Here's why. As I'm really motivated, and I love listening to you when you were talking about the realization that taking ownership, or I'm in this situation because of a series of decisions I've made throughout my life. And that put me here. That is mine, and I got to do something.
Sure.
That is motivating. It speaks to me. I was motivated and energized when you were talking about, just straight up, I am not in a position to have or affect the policy change that would be necessary to protect all of the people I care about that work.
Right.
I was very motivated by it. Then you started talking about the money, and I get it, right? Money, want more money. But here's my fear, and here's why it kind of has me a little offset. If you got that money, whatever that value is, and I agree, man, if we could put a number to that.
That's what I'm asking.
I like that. That's a really interesting thought. I don't know if that's ever going to happen, but it's an interesting thought. If you had that amount of money, let's just say it's $20 more an hour. If you had that additional $20 an hour, and you and all your coworkers, other people you care about, they all had that extra $20 an hour, this would not be an issue.
Man, that's a good question. I mean, my quick answer is no.
Okay, why not?
Because the issue is, in my opinion, I think the issue is like, it's like, I mean, I'm just spitballing here.
Yeah.
Is the real issue is like, hey guys, we're gonna be safe over here, and you guys do this. Just keep doing what you're doing for the same amount that you always did it. It's like almost like we're I don't want to say we're pretending there's no risk, but it's like, yeah, there's a risk. Just do it. Just do it how you always did it. I mean, don't worry about the risk. I just feel like there needs to be some kind of comfort. Like, for example, in the military, there's hazard pay.
Yep.
You get a certain pay for being in garrison, and then when you go deploy, you get hazard pay.
Yep.
And I feel like there and hazard pay is, I assume, is like a significant boost. I mean, sure, there's numbers about that, and I want to see the numbers on us too.
Okay, but again, getting the hazard, we'll call it hazard pay, getting that hazard pay, does it make it right?
No, it's still hazardous, but it's I mean, man, I don't know. It's a
You know what? Let me ask that differently. That doesn't make it right. Does it change the way you feel about what's currently experienced?
hard one. That's a good question. I mean, I'm gonna say yes, because I would feel in my situation like, I'm at risk, but it's at least I'm getting paid for this risk, and it's
Okay, so it sounds like, yeah, it would minimize your angst and
it would minimize the angst,
right?
at least,
Okay,
because we have to work. Like,
Yep.
there's gonna be chaos, like I said,
Yep.
if we don't do it.
so it would minimize your angst. You wouldn't be as frustrated and upset with the situation. And if you weren't upset and frustrated with the situation, would you still give a damn about changing the policy to make things right?
Yes, I would.
Okay,
That's one of my motivating factors to move up in the first place.
amazing, right? So I'm glad to hear that, because it's almost like we sell our souls.
Yeah, I mean,
Right?
pretty much.
Like, in exchange for money, if you just gave me hazard pay, and now I think it's clear that this is what you're saying, this is what I was concerned about. If I just had hazard pay, then I'd just go to work. But you recognize that doesn't solve the problem,
Yeah,
right? There's still some policy, there's some problems with the policy and how we're handling things,
Right.
or how your organization's handling.
I would say it puts like a band-aid on the problem.
Thank you very much. Absolutely. It's a band-aid. It's really not a solution. So we have a bigger problem. Now, I think in kind of what you're questioning and frustrated about it's this idea of, I'm the field worker, they're the office executives, they don't really care, and they have this luxury of hiding at home and working in their underwear, busting their ass, and they're making more money and we're making less money, and they don't even care. I mean, that's super simplified.
Yeah,
How accurate?
super simplified, but based. I mean, it all boils down to that, pretty much.
Okay. So I want to share with you a perspective from an executive in my day job, who, when we had the shutdown, jobs were shut down, like the whole freaking thing. Lives were of the utmost importance. And that lasted about a frog hair's worth of time, right? It was quick. Boom, we went back at it. And she's the executive of this job, where there's hundreds of men and women out there working to complete this project. She wholeheartedly believed it was the wrong thing to open her project back up and put people at risk. She's the executive. She's in charge. She cares. She makes the freaking decision. We also had a contractual obligation to the client to execute the work as scheduled. So she was faced with that decision. Violate the contract and deal with the repercussions, litigation, and all that other stuff, or put people at risk. And I know for a fact that was it still is a very difficult decision. I imagine that if anybody gets ill or were to lose their life as a result of being exposed and gaining the virus, and pray not happen, passes, she would blame herself. Now, I share that because She's a human being, and she does give a shit. She's not this stoic gargoyle executive that says, "Yeah, put them to work, let's make more money." She really gives a shit. She doesn't want people to die or get sick, but because of the system that we're in, she had to make a decision contrary to what she would have preferred to make. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
And I share that. I'm not saying that every executive thinks and feels that way, because if they did, everybody would be home right now without a concern for security, without a concern for food, that would not be an issue. The fact that we're having to deal with this indicates that there are a large number of people, or maybe not even a large number of people, with a number of people with such an enormous amount of influence that feel and believe contrary. And the priority is to maintain the economy, make more money, bring the money, let's keep this happening. There are those people. The system that we live in is what produces these things, these conflicts. Now, what I think is important about this whole situation, your situation, or what you're thinking is, you use the perfect word, it's the policies that are in place. We can bitch and moan about how they're unfair and wrong. They might make us feel a little bit better, but it doesn't change anything. So the question I'd like for you to pose to you, or for you to wrestle with, is what do you have to do as an individual, as a human being, as a contributor to the society and all your friends and people that you care about? What do you have to do to change that? That's not a short-term question or a short-term answer.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That's a long road. And going back to Pancho. Pancho made decisions as a person, as a man, to develop people and to invest in people. He's passed. And he's going to be sorely missed by all the people that he touched and by all the people that he's not going to be able to touch. He made a decision to live that way, and he had an effect. How are you going to choose to live?
I mean, I got a solution for that. I've been thinking about that too.
Okay. What do you think?
I mean, totally. Well, first of all, I mean, model what Pancho showed me.
Okay.
Develop my people that I work with and elevate them, and continue to educate myself, get the certifications and the degrees or whatever necessary to keep elevating and to get to the point. And I don't know what point that is yet, but I know it ain't where I'm at right now. Okay. So I know that point is somewhere in headquarters. So okay. My first immediate goal is get in headquarters somehow.
Why?
So that I can start doing the same things, maybe modeling, making an impression on headquarters people around me, and start moving up there too, to where I can get to the point where I can make that policy change.
Okay.
And maybe influence others around me to be on our side, on the little guy's side too.
Do you have to wait to be in headquarters until you can start affecting change?
I mean, I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
I think so.
Did Pancho have to wait to get in headquarters?
Well, no, definitely not. But Pancho never changed any policies.
Fair enough.
But
he changed lives.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. I mean, I could do all that right now.
To have an appreciation for people.
Totally.
To head in that direction.
Yes.
Okay.
And I feel, and I've been told by people that I'm doing that right now.
Awesome. You got to be responsible with that.
Yeah.
You're an influential man, but there's responsibility, like Spider-Man, right?
Right.
Power is great responsibility, and it's a real thing. Like, you have the power of influence. You're a motivating, inspiring individual that happens to work in the trades.
I know, right? Go figure.
Right? Like, what do you? Yeah. What do you think of when you think of a construction worker, right, or somebody
Yeah.
that works in the trades and craft people.
Yeah, I know what I've thought when I was in like high school is the trades is where you go if you didn't go to college. That's what I thought.
Yeah. And now you're there.
Down here.
You've met amazing
Yeah,
human
man.
beings. You are one of them. What do you think about them now?
Jeez. I mean, I think. I mean, you hit the nail on the head. They're amazing, hardworking, resilient, innovative people, and like very resourceful people. Like when I picture a utility worker now, I'm thinking like these are the survivors of the post-apocalyptic Earth. You know what I'm saying? Okay. These guys are gonna survive. Like they're gonna build the ground up by themselves. And just they're gonna be the ones, the backbone of our future. I would say. Okay. That's what I'm thinking now. That's how I think about them now.
What's your advice to the 13-year-old Rene?
Oh God, man, if I'm, I mean, jeez, I wonder how politically correct can I be here, right? I mean, I would tell them. I mean, nut up right now, dude. Like, just start nutting up right now. Stop quitting everything that gets hard. It's gonna get harder. Train yourself now. Train yourself in being uncomfortable. Train yourself in working and focusing when you're tired. And it's gonna give you fruit, man. And it's just so gratifying when those traits rub off on your peers too. It's super gratifying, and just I guess I would say just be that standard that you want. I don't know, like, I don't know. I don't know. I guess that's what I would tell them. That's my quick answer. Yeah, nut up, really, nut up.
But more importantly, you said things are going to be hard and don't quit.
Yeah.
And train yourself to be uncomfortable.
Yes.
I think those are great lessons for anybody in there.
Totally.
Feel like we're ready to close?
Yeah, I think we can close with that.
And that are it. That's it. Finito, se acabó. Done. End of this episode. We want your feedback. We want your thoughts. We want your ideas. We want to steal them and use them. So please shoot us an email at Jesse, Jesse, at learnings and missteps, LEARNINS, NMISSTEPS.com. Talk at you next time.